So this is my first time with this chronograph in person, so to speak, and after seeing multiple reviews of similar 1963 interpretations from various vendors, including from Seagull, I can definitely say, even though it might sound like a bit of a cliché, but those videos simply don't do this remarkable timepiece justice. This is truly a horological gem that can be yours for absolute peanuts. However, is there a reason why the Seagull is priced so competitively, or should I say aggressively? Well, in this video, we'll try to find out. Hello and welcome back. Okay, to be fair, there are a lot of wonderful reviews of Seagull 1963 chronograph and its countless clones. However, I think I've got so used to watching those reviews that I've got to some degree desensitized to how really good and unique this military chronograph looks. And now that Seagull decided to release their own budget version priced extremely competitively, the value for money here is simply extraordinary. I am seriously surprised they actually did it at all. Okay, they did a few things to this watch that meant to prevent it from cannibalizing their existing Seagull 1963 series watches that are priced around $700, but honestly, I'm not so sure it's going to work very well, and I will try to explain in a moment. However, there might be method in this madness, so to speak. I think there is a long-term strategy about the price positioning of this watch, and this might potentially have an effect on the price in the long run. And I will of course explain my line of thought in this video too. But before I do, a quick disclaimer: Seagull did send me this watch for review and I get to keep it too. No money change hands though, which is kind of a bummer because I have no intention of selling this chronograph anytime soon. In return, as always, I promise to share a comprehensive review of this watch and point you to Seagull's online store, and so all the necessary links will be in the description of this video. Okay, here is what I think. And look, all this just speculations on my side, so you of course can draw your own conclusions. So, just in case you are not familiar, this Seagull military chronograph is powered by in-house Seagull caliber ST19, which makes this watch even more special and incredible value for money, especially taking into account that it can be normally purchased for around $170 and sometimes even close to $140 during the sales. Now, about 4 months ago, Seagull changed their policy on selling this ST19 movement to third-party brands, and this change has two key points. First, now the minimum order is 10,000 units, which is a lot, and it will mean that this order will cost the brands somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000. That is a lot of dollars, even for established brands, never mind macro brands that usually do only a few hundred unit runs. And the second key point is that even if company buys that many movements, this company is not allowed to resell them in the small quantities to the third parties, basically closing potential loophole of this movement getting into the market on the cheap. So this is all nice and dandy, but what does it have to do with this chronograph? Well, this is where things get interesting. First, Seagull releases this international edition model, which is really good. Okay, Seagull did hold back here in a couple of areas, and I'll come back to it in a bit. But the main point here is that this Seagull is priced to directly compete with all those third-party 1963 clones out there, which will most likely force the clone manufacturers to keep their prices down, and therefore squeezing their margins and making much less profitable and much more risky for third parties to buy those 10,000 movements for future production. Which means that once the third-party brands run out of existing stock of this ST19 movement, well, they will stop making those 1963 clones, and once they stop making the clones, well, Seagull will be faced with much less competition, and Seagull will be able to set the price of this watch closer to the level of their other chronographs, which is most likely closer to about $350 to $400. So, in the long run, the price of this watch watch might potentially creep up. Now again, this is my own speculation, and of course there are caveats, like for example how many ST19 movements do third-party brands actually have in stock. Based on the amount of 1963 clones and other ST19 based watches currently on sale, that stockpile could be really big and last for months if not years, and my price increase prediction will take forever to materialize. What are your thoughts? Do you think we will see Seagull eventually increasing the price on this chronograph? Well, do let us know in the comments. So in terms of dimensions, we have 38mm case, well actually it is 37.4mm to be perfectly pedantic, 18mm lugs and 14.7mm case height, out of which at least 3mm is taken by this lovely boxed or rather domed or bubble crystal. And this chronograph weighs only 60 grams. So, as we discussed earlier, we have here in-house ST1901 column wheel chronograph caliber in the back of this watch. This movement started its life as Swiss Venus 175 caliber when Taijin Watch Factory, current-day Seagull, purchased the license and all the tooling to manufacture this movement in China all the way back in 1961. Since then, the movement went through some modernization, and so this modern caliber now has a higher bit rate of 21,600 vibrations per hour and an increased number of jewels from 17 to 22. However, the same as the original Venus caliber, this ST19 is still not hacking, that is, the second hand continues to run when we pull the crown out to set the time. A fun fact, column wheel type mechanical chronographs are considered more robust, and in this respect this caliber shares its design approach with another world-famous Swiss chronograph, Omega Speedmaster, also known as Moonwatch. As for the case, we have here a full polished stainless steel case. There is a thin bezel framing the dial, adding a bit of extra visual interest to the case look. The case finishing is impeccable, as we would expect from such a reputable manufacturer as Seagull. The transitions between the facets are crisp and well defined. We have the piston-style pushes operating the chronograph and a push-pull crown. The crown does actually have a bit of interesting shape to it, with the outer side sculpted into a subtle curve, which works well with the rest of this curvaceous timepiece. Although personally I would have liked to have this crown signed too. But I guess this is one of the areas that Seagull used for price segmentation of this watch, and there are more of areas like this, as we will see just now. Also, another thing to be mindful here is that we have a very modest 30 meters of water resistance. On one hand, I'm kind of okay with that, it is a chronograph after all. However, being a military style watch, I think 50 meters would be more appropriate. However, one thing that this Seagull did here that I really like is the exhibition caseback. The view of this nicely decorated and in general very good looking caliber is outstanding, so absolutely no complaints here. Right, so this lovely looking domed crystal looks absolutely superb, and I think even despite the fact that it adds about 3mm to the case height, it is one of the key selling points of this chronograph. However, this good looking crystal is also another area of price segmentation, and this is because it is made out of mineral glass. Okay, to be fair, Seagull states in the product listings that it is some kind of coated glass, however, they don't go into specifics. I'm honestly a bit conflicted here, because sapphire or even acrylic would be my preferred choice of materials. However, the mineral glass does have a really good anti-reflective property, and in general, it looks so good on this watch. As for the dial, again, a high attention to detail and excellent quality of execution. We have a champagne color background with a very subtle sheen, so much specific to this particular model. We have applied hour markers and applied frame to the red star above the pinion. Everything else, including the minute chaptering and the chaptering around the subdials, are all printed. The blue and red hands are very legible on this dial, as we would expect on this pilot military chronograph. The subdial at 9 o'clock position is running seconds indicator, and the subdial at 3 o'clock position is a 30-minute chronograph accumulator. And yes, if you're wondering, well, there is no lume on this watch. Now, as for the bracelet, well, again, a very simple yet very well executed NATO style nylon strap. The stitching is very good, and the stainless steel keepers and the buckle have similar finish as the case of this watch. The buckle is also signed, which is a nice touch. And here is how this watch wears on my about 7-inch wrist. It is very comfortable, and despite the case height of nearly 15 mm, it is very easy to wear, even under a shirt cuff. So yes, there are a few areas that Seagull decided to hold back, so to speak. However, compared to Seagull's own earlier version of Seagull 1963 costing around $600, this particular reissue is an absolute bargain and is a lot of watch for the money. So, in my opinion, if you ever considered Seagull 1963, well, this one is definitely one to get. And as I pointed out at the start of this video, I personally wouldn't delay it either. What are your thoughts? Well, do let us know in the comments. And if you want to see more great value chronographs, well, check out my playlist on the screen over here. Don't forget to like and of course subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next video.